So today's video will be going over a quick flight setup here, just the 27 minutes in this case here. We'll go from the runway to make things a little bit faster instead of from the gate, and we'll go over how to set it up quickly, going from a SID directly to a STAR, so there's no waypoints between here. The SID and the STAR are connecting with each other. If it's a little bit further away, I had one flight from here as well, there was one waypoint between them. You can still go straight away from the SID to the STAR, standard instrumental departure to the STAR, and just leave the waypoint out of the route, let's say, and the SID and the STAR will connect directly to each other. So you still have a direct link to these two. We'll go over that real quick here, and it's a great way to set up a flight quickly, get going, and not entering all kind of waypoints, which I will show you just here in a second when we're at the runway. So here we are sitting at the runway. We'll jump straight into it, setting up the route for the flight altogether here. So we'll head off, since it's a short flight, we'll go into the FS sections, fuel, and we'll set a 1/3 of fuel, which will be enough for this flight. That means the center tanks are empty, so we're gonna switch off the fuel pumps for the center tanks here. You can do some payload changes as well if you like, by just clicking setting a random, but fuel wise like this we're fine already. So we'll go back to menu, FMC, position, then we'll go to the reference airport, which is NZV. ENZV. If this is all a little bit too fast for you and you're new with the Pmdg, I will link the tutorial series in the description down below, which gets you going quickly. Notice NZV is still here in the scratch pad, and we'll go to destination with ENBR, Bergen, ENBR, like so. And then we'll go to our departure and arrival directly. Departure is runway 36 with the SID Omni 2H, which is not there, so we'll go with Odin 1H then in this case. We'll go back to index, arrivals, and we'll go with ILS 35 West, ILS 35, this one, with the star Gen V1P, that one is here. Alright, then you go back to route, activate the route, just like so, hit execute, and we'll go to the next page. Then there is a discontinuity between the SID and the star. Sometimes there can be a few more. Yep, here we got another one. Just get that out of the way, execute it again, go back to the next page. Change this one to planning mode. We want to verify this route real quick, see if it's looking somewhat okay. We'll step through that. Okay, what's going on there? We'll check that real quick. Okay, we go quite far off here by going to Odinu. Well, we can go to Genvu directly, so we'll skip this Odinu. Moving up this one leg and execute again. That makes things a little bit easier. Moving in again a little bit. Step through. And then we got a nice approach here, which will be rather interesting. Alright, so that's looking good. Switching this one back to map mode. And here we are. Alright. Initial reference base. Zero fuel weight, you can get like so. Reserves, we can put anything random, which is fine. 2.5, 100 for the cost index. The cruising altitude will be the highest altitude during the flight. Well, there's not much there, so we'll just go with 10,000 here to have a little bit of scenery. Execute that one. Nav1 limits, you can skip this page, go to takeoff. Takeoffs will be flaps 5, so that's quite a basic default setup state, and that's giving us our V1, VR, and V2 straight away as well. Going back to the next page, we got now all the way up to not to 10,000 right there. So it's talking flight level straight away here. So 10,000 is set. Then we can switch on these flight directors, both sides. Engage the LNAV, because the runway is, the course after the runway is in the same direction. It has to be within a 5 degrees if I'm not mistaken. Going up here on the speed a little bit, like so. Auto brakes are on RTO, flaps are set at 5. We can go to the next page here as well. We'll switch on some terrain here, and we'll switch on the flight path vector for departure. Landing lights have to come on like so, and switch this one twice to the right, TARA for the TCAS. By clicking TFC, we'll get the TCAS up and running. There's no traffic here today to keep things a little bit easier, and everything is set up like so. Yeah. Good. Alright. Brakes can come off by keeping the brakes pressed like so. And we'll get stable engines, so we'll go up to 40% about. Reset the camera right there. Make sure they reach about 40 and then drop again a little bit. Which they're doing now already since an update. We had an update, it's already a while ago. Before they were not dropping, now they are. Small change there.
Airspeed alive?
Yeah, airspeed is live. If you don't get these call outs, I will explain in a minute after departure how to get them. Rotate coming up there, so you can see it.
V1
Rotate, gently pitch towards this 15 degrees here. There we go.
Positive rate of climb.
And when you got the positive rate of climb, you can go gear up and follow the vertical flight director there. And then when we're climbing out here, we can switch on the VNAV as well to get our horizontal flight director line coming up as well, which want to gain a little bit of airspeed before we start pitching up again. There we go. So we can start retracting flaps here. Notice the flight director wants to keep us here a little bit easy to gain airspeed again. Alright, and we'll go soon F5 to get all the flaps up. F5, there we go, all flaps up. Press Z on the keyboard by default to engage the autopilot. And we are on the way. Flying LNAV, VNAV. Hard brakes off, landing gear in the off position. Top of climb is coming up there already at 10,000 feet. So flaps are away and the airspeed comes up as well. This is offline scenery, by the way. That's not too bad. So we're flying offline here. Obviously it's different than online, but not too bad, not too bad. Good. So now our top of climb is there at 10,000, and then we start descending later on again at Autoland already. So notice that we start descending here quite fast straight away. So we got Genvu, and then at Autoland we need to change the altitude. You can go to RTA data, and then you can see here that we're at 0923 there, so that's 30 minutes, and then we are there. So if you want to find these times, for example, also what will be the approximate ETA on the runway 35 right there, RTA data will be 0935, so it's, like I said, a really short flight here. And with that being said, we'll start off by setting up the ILS here straight away as well together, since we're still nicely climbing out here. Alright, 35 will be our runway of arrival, so to say. So we'll go towards Bergen here, ENBR. If it's a little bit messy, just go over here and type in ENBR and we'll go like so. We got the ILS runways showing up here, which are 17 and 35. If they're not showing up, sometimes it do happen with add-on airports, for example, they're not showing up. You can go to the free website chartfox.org and you can find the approach charts with the corresponding courses and frequencies. So in this case 35, so that means a course of 348. So we'll come back on this one and we'll do the same on the first officer sides. There we go. Then we got the frequency of 110,500 remaining, 110,50. Don't put an additional 0, it will go everything to 0 again. Ah, they're inactive already. I didn't notice that at all. So we'll pick a random frequency here now. 080. It's VOR frequency. And we'll switch them to standby for now. Alright. Normally what you would do if you get the actual ILS clearance, you will switch them to active. Now it's notice that it's buttons here with the 736. It's like a small buttons, scroll, no, not buttons, knobs, how to call them, like with the Squawk code. So good morning. Alright, top of climb there. Notice the altimeter here is set in orange, so we can switch to standard here, and at 10,000 the landing lights can come off like so. There we go. So nicely at 10,000 feet we got 34 miles to go here, and then just before Genvu we reach it, we'll go to 097, so that's 9700 on the MCP main control panel. So we'll proceed cruising here for about another 30 miles, and I will see you when we get closer to Genvu. So we got about 6.5 miles to go before Genvu, so our actual top of descent is a little bit further down the road, but we'll dial in the 9700 here already. So 9700, here we go. Regarding the standard pressure setting here and the 2992 QNH, normally the procedure is that if ATC is talking you after departure about altitudes like climb maintain 8,000 feet, 10,000 feet, 12,000 feet, you stay within the QNH, 2992 in this case. It's different for every area, every scenery, every place, so to say. And when they're cleared you for a flight level, so when they start talking climb and maintain flight level 120 for example, then you would switch to standard pressure. So a small thing there which I want to point out. And then if we go into the FMC menu, Pmdg setup, options, simulation, and then you got 7 pages here. So if you move on a little bit forward, then to page 3 you get your call out airspeed live, 80 knots, V1, VR. Next page you got your V2 and positive rate of climb. So those can be found over here along with a few other settings. Going back to the FMC and legs page, we start turning here. We got 50 miles to go, so we're gonna fly this last bit of leg here together. Going into the index here on the init ref page again. Going back to index, approach, then you got your flaps settings with the corresponding speed. So the gross weight is set here as well. If you have a long flight remaining, this obviously will drop due to fuel burning. Now we start descending soon, so this will become less and less. 68.8 or 68.7 is only a minor difference here on the speeds. As you can notice, not even affecting the speed at all. So we'll go with a flap 40 setting. So to have the reference shown here at the MFD, we can simply click next to the 40 with the 145. It will carry the scratch pad, and we'll set it up here. And we got the reference for our landing, just like so. Going back to the legs page, we'll proceed along the way here. Later on we'll go to VR localizer mode to capture the localizer, which will be at 3000 feet, between 3000 and 2500, somewhere there will be our localizer capture. And then as soon as we capture the localizer, LNAV will go off because localizer will take over, and then we can select the plane will start slowing down here for its top descent. Then after the localizer and the LNAV goes off, we can switch to approach mode, and then when the glide slope is captured with the ILS approach, we are talking about a glide slope, the VNAV will go off, the vertical guidance. When we're flying an RNAV approach, I will go over that in a separate video. We're talking about a glide path instead of a glide slope, and since there's no localizer, you would skip the VOR localizer mode and you will go directly to approach mode, since the GPS route is giving the vertical, longitudinal guidance, so to say. But if you RNAV approach like a Innsbruck or a Kelowna, that's a different type of approach, like with an ILS. With the ILS we're using a ground station, which is supplying us with a ILS frequency and this well-known guidance system, let's say, from the ILS. Where on the other hand, with a RNAV approach, there is no ILS. Notice we start descending here. There is no ILS frequency, so it's all GPS based. We set MCP altitude, so we'll go to 085 here now. 5, there we go. And we'll start descending here. Have to keep an eye on the airspeed here, on the speed, as well as our profile here, and it might be necessary to get some drag going here to maintain a proper descending, which we will do right now. And that will make the plane pitch down again. and 73, so 07073 it is. I have to select the button here to get descending again. Here we go. Now we start descending again. And we'll continue on to 6620, 66, so we'll make it 65, and you can go actually all the way down to 3000 for the approach straight away. So for some reason we missed our top of descent there, and the plane didn't want to descend. And yeah, as noticed on the profile, which is now coming up again to the correct one here, all we had to do is press this button here next to the altitude set to get going again. So we're getting closer to the runway now, still a few waypoints to go. To avoid forgetting switching the frequencies, we'll change these to active, and there will nothing will happen until we enable the VOR lock. After the approach mode is engaged, the altitude doesn't affect anything anymore, so to say. So we can go all the way to the last page in case we would have a missed approach. Altitude, that's 3000, sometimes it can be 5. So as soon as you get the approach enabled, you can dial in 5000 for your missed approach. So we're nicely flying along the VNAV path here, and when we get closer to the runway, which is a dotted line here on the ND navigation display, we can engage the VOR lock. It will not do anything now. Further preparations, gear can go to the opposition, auto brakes will be 2, which will be sufficient, and we'll land it in a full Autoland mode, so we'll not hand fly it. That means that the plane will land all the way till the runway by itself. It will flare automatically as well, and we'll go to flaps 2 here for the next few turns to make them a little bit smoother. Notice the set speed here is changing as well. The FMC is telling us to give some drag here to maintain descent, so to say. They're still good on profile. Beautiful scenery here to fly online, which we're not doing today, by the way, but you can switch on the data as well, which will show the corresponding altitude and ETE times. Now the altitudes are different because we're on a star, but if you have the other waypoints remaining, it will show like there 4000. So nice little thing. Get rid of speed brakes. We'll press B on the keyboard to go to 2992, which is the QNH. So now we have some flaps and we're flying a little bit slower. These next few turns will be a little bit more gently, so to say. No need to turn around the bank angle since LNAV will take care of the bank angle. There's our last deceleration point, so during this leg we'll go to full flaps. And then we'll set flaps 10. After flaps 10 setting, we'll go gear down, and after 3 green we'll continue with the flaps all the way to 40, which is our reference speed, which didn't change much, I think, in the meantime here. 68.6 it's now, so you see it's still 145. It's fine. I'm running a free add-on airport from Bergen here, so we'll go to flaps 5, flaps 10. From flightsim.to, so we'll see what that looks like. Will be my first landing here after installing the add-on airport, the free add-on airport, so we'll see what that's like. So we're steadier on our leg, so we'll go gear down. Wait for the 3 green. Normally the nose wheel will go first green. There we go. 1, 2. Okay, we got full gear, so we'll continue to 15. We'll go step by step. Wait a little bit, get everything stable before we go straight away to full flaps. Okay, 25. Drag required, we'll do so. And we'll go to flaps 30 before retracting the speed brake so we can continue on with the flaps. And we'll go F8, which will drop all flaps by default. Notice the engine's spooling up there, so we'll get rid of the speed brakes. And we're coming up to our speed there. We could maintain 220 here all the way till FF35W, which is over there. I like to start with the flaps a little bit in advance here for these last few sharp turns and get everything set. So now we're getting closer to the runway. We got the frequencies inactive on both sides. We got the courses dialed in, so we'll switch on the VOR lock mode here. VOR lock is displayed over here in white, and when it's captured it will turn green and LNAV will go off. I'll drop the range a little bit on the ND again. Deceleration point there, and when approach mode takes over we can adjust the speed ourselves, and we'll set the 145. So got the last 2 turns coming up here. When we're landing, the auto brakes too will set the speed brakes and the auto brakes. As soon you press the brakes manually, the auto brake will be disengaged, so be aware of that. As soon you trigger the brakes, the auto brake disengages. Alright, let's continue on here. Notice that it's a relatively sharp turn here, so it's nice to do it flaps 40. Go. Now most likely the VOR localizer will take over before we're actually reaching the next turn by the LNAV route, so to say. The VOR lock will take over before we're reaching that one. Down there we got the airport. Beautiful scenery to fly online, which we will do with the CRG soon. We'll make the same flight with them with the CRG, which is really easy to fly, nice on the FPS, and although it doesn't get any updates, the plane is still flying perfectly fine. And setting up the CRG is quite similar to the 737, so it's nice to have those two in your collection. In my opinion at least. I enjoy them both. So keeping an eye here on this VOR lock and the LNAV. As soon as they go off, we're gonna switch to approach mode. There we go. Like I said, localizer captures before. We'll change to approach mode. Gotta keep an eye on the VNAV here and the glide slope here in white. And we just wait until we got that one captured as well. Alright. We'll drop the range down to 5. So this is all VNAV, bringing us to 3000 feet, and then just sitting there before capturing the glide slope. Ideally you want to capture the localizer before the glide slope. There we go, glide slope capture. Notice our speed becomes available here, so we can dial in our 145 and we can engage the second autopilot, which will create a full approach here. If you would hand fly it, you will get the ILS guidance here, so you can simply disable the autopilot by pressing Z on the keyboard, which will disable the autopilot. You would want to disengage the auto throttle as well, so you will lose your full autopilot here. You will keep the ILS guidance by the flight directors, and if you switch on if you press CTR twice, you will get your VSD vertical situation display. Just giving you a little bit of an idea of where to go for. Anyway, looking outside, we got 2 white, 2 red, so that's looking fine as well. Obviously, when you start hand flying it from here, you would want to keep an eye on the center line of the runway and the puppy lights, and check the instruments every once in a while. But outside is the real thing happening. So we'll go all the way till Autoland here, so you know what that's like. If you want to hand fly it, like I said, simply disable the autopilot now, disable the auto throttle and hand fly the plane. But to go over the full Autoland feature here, we'll proceed like that. In the CRG you got this really nice EFB with the checklist. Engine switch is continuous, so we switch to right, continuous like so. Oh, that was twice. Alright, we'll go like that. Speed brakes armed. Landing gear down, flaps green. Alright, that's all set. And we have a beautiful approach into Bergen here. Notice the flare is now coming up here in white as well, where we will keep an eye on approaching. Myself personally, I can make smoother landings by hand flying it than the plane, which is flaring by itself. If there are any real pilots in the comment section, let me know if the plane flaring in the simulator is realistic to real life. Seems, in my opinion, it's not so smooth. Setting up minimums will be for another video, just to keep the focus here on the approach. You will get your minimums call out here now soon, somewhere about now, maybe a little bit further down the road. That will be for a different video. Flight path factor as well, we're not having any wind here for this video today. If you would have a little bit of wind, flight path factor will become useful as well. Didn't explain much about it in this video. Normally in the other videos I explain about it, since a lot of most of the people are not subscribed to the channel, so I don't know which information I share again and not. Just like to go over everything every time in case someone is new here. Keep an eye on the flare. Coming up to 50 here soon. 50, 40 flare active.
20, 10.
And butter. Keeping F2 pressed on the green on the reverse. Keeping F2 pressed enables reverse thrust. No braking whatsoever. Notice if I trigger the brakes now, the orange light comes on at the auto brake, identifying that the auto brake is disarmed. I think it's disarmed in there. F5 on the flash. Yeah, disarm, right. Alright, and read back the speed brakes. Dash on the numpad by default. And we'll leave the runway like so. All the ILS information stays on here. We'll press the Z by default to disable that. Notice that all the information stays there because it's still within the frequency range. As soon as you change the frequencies here, the information will go away. Next up is the taxi lights. APU, one click down and keep it down in the next place, which will start up the APU. And we are at the airport. Alright, turning right here. Yeah, gotta be careful with the nose wheel here on the 737, since if you go too far the plane basically goes straight, like so, you see. There's a way how to fix that. we'll go over that in a quick video of a few tips and tricks regarding the Pmdg. Well, we will go over the 736 as well. There's an easy fix for it, but today we're gonna focus on the actual approach here. So auto brakes off, flaps are up, speed brakes are away. You can see from the passenger view. Here we are at the runway. Ground speed, keep it below 33.0, and with turns keep it under 15 or around 15. And here we are. So really short flight, which can be done from takeoff until touchdown within half an hour. Great practice in my opinion. Nice flying for practicing hand flyings. Great little fun here. You can change the weather a little bit. If you mess up your landing, never mind, you can just simply restart and do it all over within half an hour. I will show in another video how to save the actual flight plan, so you can bring up the FMC menu, menu FMC RT request flight plans Pmdg, and I got a few flight presets here, which will be for a separate video, a really nice video going over quick practicing runs between 3 airports. That's coming up, where I will be sharing all the route files and approach charts and whatsoever. It's a complete detailed video going over a quick flight. Basically we got 3 airports, so airport 1, airport 2, airport 3, let's say, and with the preset flight plans you can just by clicking the flight plan, everything is set up. You fly to the next airport, taxi from one runway to another taxi, load up the next flight plan, move on to the next airport, which is all within 1 hour. Great little practice runs where you can again change the weather, change some weather settings, practice hand landings perfectly. So you got like within a couple hours you got 3 takes off, 3 landings, where I'll be sharing all the charts, all the route files and so on within a one simple nice Dropbox link. That's coming up in the near future. I'm still working on that a little bit. The airport here at Bergen looks nice, the freeware airport by flightsim.to. That's it for today's video. I think that was interesting to say at least. APU is available. Yeah, and then I will see you in a future video where we'll go with CRG. We'll go over this route like I described it here just before, just earlier, and a few other things coming up here as well. So, hope it was nice and useful to say at least. And we'll see you in a future video. Thanks for watching.